we've had a few weeks of information come through. One piece of information was when Shigs and Gigs went on this podcast and had a conversation. Another piece of information came out is when Kendrick mentioned that
incident. Well, no, you know what?
What was the line? Don't let no white comedians
disrespect black women, something like that. That's on. What's it say?
Don't let no white comedian talk about black women. That's law,
right? But he never mentioned no names.
Right.
He didn't mention a specific scenario.
Facts.
He just said this color of comedians should not speak on the women in our community. That's all he said.
What I want to pose to you, because I've been just like mulling over this situation, the beauty of having, sometimes we come to the podcast and the information and or the topic just comes out and you kind of have to react to it there and then.
Yeah.
I feel like I've had a bit more time to digest the information, see what everyone's saying about it and really come to the table and speak about it on this pod.
Right.
My thing is, the questions that came up to me in my head and the questions I'm going to ask you and Joe is this about double standards or do we just not like Andrew Schulz?
Well,
what do you mean by double standards?
Because after Kendrick mentioned that, all comedians went back to, well, Andrew Schulz went back to anybody can get these jokes. And the culture, I would say black people in general and the culture, because it's mixed, felt like he went too far with what he said on his Flagrant 2 episode, where he said he wanted to sexually assault Kendrick Lamar and treat him like a gal because he's short and whatnot. So why I asked if it's double standards, because Dave Chappelle goes up on his platform or goes on stage and talks about transsexuals and gays and Jews, and he doesn't get the flack from us in general because we like Dave Chappelle.
Okay. Yeah, but I think I'll let Drizzy go after, but I think it's more of a case of you can say whatever you want as long as you're prepared for the consequences.
I agree.
So that's what, and I think like Dave Chappelle stands in that, and that's why people gravitate towards him.
Right.
Whereas I don't know, because it's like, I think there was a point where Andrew was saying someone started saying stuff about what they're going to do to his wife.
Yes, his youths and that.
And it's like, well, you can say whatever you want, but you have to be prepared
for the ramifications.
Whatever you say is like, and that goes for everybody in any circumstance.
It doesn't matter what level you are in society.
You know, say whatever you want, but you have to accept. Yeah, there's going to be, and I don't think he maybe
clocked it.
No, is at that level where he understands that. Just because I can mask it as a joke doesn't mean people can't react however they want.
Take it the way they did to take it.
Yeah, I don't think Joe hit the nail on the head. Is that some people are these devices we have in our hands, and people use the crutch of freedom of speech. They use that, but they never say freedom of speech comes with
the consequences.
They just tell you, it's freedom of speech. Anytime someone says something and there's some pushback on it, they always go, well, it's my freedom of speech. You're absolutely right. You can say whatever you want. You can say the most derogatory thing you want about someone in public. That's on you to say that. But you cannot plan or imagine how the person you're saying that about is going to respond. It could be anything. It could be they could reply back with a response on Twitter. They catch you outside, slap you in the face. It might not even be them, because the problem is he chose the worst year to do such a thing and say that about Kendrick, because right now the climate is so hot right now for Kendrick.
Yeah.
It might not even be Kendrick. Kendrick might be like, okay, that's how you feel? All right, cool, I'll get back to you in 2025. Schulz might be minding his business. A Kendrick superfan might catch Andrew outside and slap the shit out of him in front of his family. And he's going to be like, oh my gosh, what you do that for? And the person may say it's because of this, or they might be like, you know why, and just walk off.
Because if you look at the landscape when we're talking about LA,
Yeah.
right? Them motherfuckers are together right now, in full force.
Like they've never been since probably when the NWAs came out.
Facts.
And Dre dropped, Snoop dropped.
Kendrick got
Game came outside.
Yeah.
It's not been like that since then.
Kendrick got the Bloods and the Crips on board
to hang out with each other and perform and unify. So, and I just think in general, West Coast just have that kind of energy. It's not like New York. New York is kind of I feel like New York will get behind each other to a degree, but it's more about it's more about their boroughs.
The boroughs, yeah.
It's more about
and who it is.
Yeah.
Is certain people they'll definitely unite.
Where West Coast is like we're all in this.
Crenshaw, Compton.
You can't say shit.
Bumpton, whatever. We were united. The West is one.
So it's weird because when I'm looking on the internet and I'm seeing people react to this, I'm seeing people that are offended by what he said, and I can see why. Like, I'm not going to sit here and fake the funk. I can see why people can get offended. I can see why gay people can get offended by gay jokes by comedians. I can see why trans people get offended by trans jokes. I can see all of that, right? So, again, I'm not going to sit here and I'm going to keep the same energy I kept with Will Smith and that whole thing when he went up on stage and slapped Jada and slapped Chris Rock. These are comedians. But I am with you guys when it comes to the fact of the ramifications of what you say, you're going to have to hold it. As simple as that. Yes, all right, let me say this. I'm a big Andrew Schulz supporter because I've followed Andrew Schulz from the beginning. The reason I mentioned it on the last episode or the episode with Shigs and Gigs, where him and Charlemagne is one of the reasons why I even started podcasting, because I didn't know what podcasts were until they started doing it. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I feel like I can do it. I know music. I know this, and boom, 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 boom. So because I have that context behind it, I know Andrew Schulz isn't malicious or isn't trying to be racist in what he's saying. But if you just start watching what's going on, or you see clips, or you see social media, or you see Twitter talking about it, and you don't know what's going on, you will take offense to it straight. Even DL Hughley came out and said, yeah, he didn't find it funny. And when I watched it, I didn't find it funny either. I didn't. It wasn't like, like when Dave Chappelle orchestrates a joke and he makes it, he's clever and he makes it funny. And when you listen to it, you can go, oh, rah. It's not even so much about the joke. It's the way he's told it. It's like, right, that's fucked up what you just said, bruv, but that is hella funny.
Yeah.
The way Schulz did it, it was like, he didn't prepare. He went on his show, doubled down, tripled down, and I'm like, brother, like, cool, and you man are gonna kiki and ha-ha and laugh on the pod, but you lot gotta go outside. And I know Schulz has got to go and travel and pod and perform his stand-up in certain places. You might get approached. And you're not from the culture in that sense. You're not like, I get it. I get the joke. I understand why you've said it, but man, we'll check you for it, bro.
Yeah, well, I think also you have to look in regards to like how many jokes are said of women of other communities.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you don't hear majority of the time, you don't hear white comedians talk about women in their community, because it's like, well, it's too... Like,
you don't hear... Say that again? You
don't hear white comedians normally make jokes. Their biggest jokes aren't normally about women in their community. Like, it's like, they might say something like, oh, me and my wife. They might refer to the people in the community as my wife, but that doesn't necessarily mean their wife is...
Oh, Bill Burr goes in a white girl.
Yeah, that's true. But he's married to a black. He probably sees things in a different light. Yeah, but you're right though. That's a good example. Bill, I forgot about Bill. When
Bill Burr goes in, he goes in on his own.
Right.
And he gives those nuances with the fact that his missus is black.
Okay.
And
maybe the difference between Bill and Andrew is Bill isn't trying to be in the culture. I don't feel like the culture...
what do you mean not trying to be in the culture in terms of not trying to force yourself in the culture?
Into the culture. I think the culture's embraced him because of his work with Chappelle.
Right.
Especially in the Chappelle show.
Right.
And he's kind of comedy, people have gravitated. We all like to laugh. It doesn't matter what race, background you're from, we all like to laugh.
Yeah.
But Bill's never been almost like banging on the door like, I want to be part of this hip-hop community. We've embraced him and he's obliged. I'm like, oh, well, great. I've got access to that audience.
Yeah.
Whereas with Schulz, it's almost like
his
hip-hop gave him that platform
Yeah.
because he was standing next to Charlemagne. Charlemagne is part of the culture.
Yeah.
Even though he has his own missteps, but he's part of the culture.
Yeah.
So now Charlemagne standing next to this guy is Charlemagne basically co-signing this
the
guy.
fuckery.
So now the culture, based on Charlemagne, we're like, okay, cool, let him come sit down at the table and let's see what he's got to offer.
Yeah.
Now he's got to a point now where he's now doing his own things outside of Charlemagne, and the culture's looking at like, well, no one really gave two shits about you until you stood next to Charlemagne. So now those type of jokes coming from him, who's a guest in the culture, that's where I think the uproar is coming from.
I hear you.
Do you know what I'm saying? But then it all boils down to, sir, if you're gonna make these type of jokes, cool. But what happens after that? You just have to accept it. You can't be wrong and strong. You give the joke, Kendrick says that, and then you come back with, oh yeah, well, if I had my way with Kendrick couldn't do that with me because I'm taller than him, he's short, I could turn him around, I could do this, that, and the That's a weird response, first of all.
Kendrick
There's so many ways.
Kendrick might kick his ass too.
Yo, Kung Fu Kenny, I believe the Kung Fu part. He is the guy in Rush Hour 1 that Don Cheadle was playing in Crenshaw. But you could have responded to Kendrick in so many other ways. You could have even responded with silence because he did not call your name. He didn't
mention you.
Your name wasn't mentioned.
You got gassed up.
You got pointed out, and then you took it upon yourself.
Maybe he saw that as an alley-oop to go viral.
Yeah, but you could go viral different ways. You could be like,
I'm not saying it's the right way, but I'm saying,
right. Of course,
he's bruv, this is the biggest thing smoking right now.
Engagement is currency.
Kendrick is the biggest thing smoking right now.
Yeah,
he's relevant in the culture because of the whole beef with Drake.
Yep.
He's mentioned white comedians and he's stepping on his thing, right? Yeah. He's come to the table to say, I'm going to represent this thing in terms of I'm going to be the white guy, the white comedian that talks out about it. Because Bill Burr, to this day, I heard Bill Burr say nothing about it. Maybe he will, but he hasn't.
Yeah.
My thing is this as well, is sometimes, again, it's context.
Yeah.
You know, like if Andrew Schulz was on stage and he orchestrated the joke about Kendrick Lamar in a certain way, maybe he wouldn't have got the backlash for it. But because he's on the podcast and he's sitting there and people don't know him as a comedian, stand-up comedian in that sense, they've just got all this stuff virally from the podcast. I'm like, who's this Donny just talking like that with a mustache and the no fade hair? He looks racist, but even though why has he got that haircut is because he's in a movie. It was for a movie role, right? But we all see things in different ways, right? According to how we get it, and then we go, is that? Because you were right, Bill Burr. We might accept that from him on a stand-up. We might accept that from him as a joke. If he does a special and he's doing a joke and it's about Kendrick Lamar and it's about, to be fair,
can you really orchestrate an intelligent joke about sexual assault?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Nah, bro, like I said, no,
you're right.
His name wasn't mentioned.
No, you're right. No,
his name wasn't mentioned.
No,
like I said, it's a dead joke.
Yeah, it's terrible.
He could have responded. He could have still gone viral.
Yeah, he fucked up.
Without saying to Kendrick. So he could be like, whoever Kendrick is talking to, me and the rest of my white homies or whatever, how you want to bust it or whatever, we need to congregate together like the Wu-Tang Clan and just find out who this guy is, because I would not want to be that guy right now. And I know Kendrick ain't talking to me because could have said that and bust it off as a joke. That's the first thing that comes to your mind. You want to sexually assault another guy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's a pause. That's the ultimate pause.
He didn't think that out.
Absolutely not. And then the minions on his podcast, that key and hard to everything, especially that Asian Donny, brother, he is the biggest bounty I've seen on a public forum, bro.
What's his name?
The Asian Donny. Hakash his name? Bro, change his name to something else, bro. He's the biggest bounty I see, bro. He laughs at anything Schulz says, bro. I'm like, yo, you know, kind of in a way, like...
You look at it, his bread, he breads him.
Brother, he breads him so much, change his name from Hakash to Hovis, bro. He breads him with butter, both sides buttered, bro. It's mad.
But this goes back to the shigs and gigs thing, yeah? Where if you feel some type of way, everyone's different, innit?
Yeah.
If you feel some type of way about, like, I could be in a room, someone said a joke, I can understand that it's funny, but it's a bit like, if I laugh out loud, I'm gonna look crazy. So I might snigger, but then I might go, bro, I don't know if you should really, I think you might have to relax with that one.
Yeah.
And just take yourself out of the firing line. When you're just doing that,
all the time,
mouth open wide,
brother.
Like walk on with that. You just want wood in your mouth,
brother. That Hovis guy. He just and then there's another Donny on there who's in our community. Yeah. I hardly hear or see him push back, bro.
Yeah, bro, he's gonna get pushed back in LA because I heard he got death threats as well, brother. He got death threats,
let's be clear.
Yeah, get it out.
We don't in any way, shape, or form condone taking it that far about man's kids.
Pause. What? Yeah. Taking it that far is mad. But yeah, cool, safe.
Okay.
Yeah.
In regards to targeting people's kids and their wives.
We don't condone that.
Stuff.
No,
Even with the beef between Drake and Kendrick, the sentiment was still the same. We don't condone that.
No, we don't condone it.
The thing is, the issue is with Schulz. It's got nothing to do with his kids. It's got nothing to do with his wife. So realistically, we shouldn't be having this type of conversation. But use the same forum that he used to disrespect him. Don't be threatening man's life but again, this is what happens. When you speak publicly, you've got to accept the ramifications. And I hope it doesn't get to that point.
So before we move, I briefly watched the latest Brilliant Idiots episode because I wanted to see
what he said.
Wagwan.
Yeah.
And Charlemagne pretty much kind of
co-signed him.
No,
but there was a point. Charlemagne co-signed.
The last episode. Don't forget when they record and when things happen.
Yeah.
Two different things. It's like we might record an episode, but the event happened.
Right.
Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So we've had what's happened since.
Yeah.
He's had a flagrant 2.
Yeah.
But he hasn't had
a Brilliant Idiots.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Right. So now he's got the Brilliant Idiots. Charlemagne has been like, bro, the consequences of your actions are. Like, that's the word. The word in the culture is watch your step.
Yeah.
Schulz is still trying to do the little jokes, but Charlemagne's... Because at the end of the day, if it's me and you, bro, I'm not trying to out you on the podcast, brother. I'm still your brethren, and they're brethren.
Yeah.
So he's not going to verbatimly say to him on air.
But that's a good heads up though, because it is
behind the scenes, he's probably told him, brother,
it's hot outside.
Allow it.
If I was you, I'd contact anyone that's next to Kendrick, and try and apologize to him,
back off,
and ask them to publicly post your apology so people can see you apologize and keep it moving because
it's not.
It's Ben Teke out there for you.
And Schulz should know because Schulz recently hung out with 50 Cent. And you know, bruv, that Donny there, bruv, you don't want to be on the bad side of him.
Yeah.
So Schulz, you know, bro, like things you say, just, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And the thing about it is, I want, God willing, Andrew Schulz will be sitting here one day.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to diss the man, but I'm just trying to say to him, bruv, just be careful what you say, bruv.
Chill out.
It's the Drizzy Morgan show.